Well, thank you again for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
It was really good. I actually enjoyed it a lot. We actually learned a lot as well.
Oh, good. Well, that's really cool. Well, we have class every Tuesday. If you ever want to join us, you're always welcome.
It's a bit of a killer,
It's
actually.
a little bit of a commute, I
If I
understand.
want to be sustainable, then flying over DC every day is not going to be the thing. So.
Well, anytime you're in town, you're always welcome. Well, can you just use your name, title, and the organization that you're with?
Okay, so my name is Andy Taylor. I'm the Director of Global Strategy for Cubic Transportation Systems.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you discussed tonight and some of the key takeaways that you would want both class to learn about and anyone listening to this video to learn about?
Okay, so what I spoke about tonight was mobility as a service. It's a new concept of how we bring together public and private transportation within a given region to offer a seamless service to the actual user. How do we make it easy for somebody to get from A to B? How do we get them from their front door to their destination and take that friction out of the journey? Make it easier to book, make it easier to plan, make it easier to pay for. And that's the whole sort of premise of what mobility as a service is. Give people the options that they want, be the sort of fastest, the most economical, the most environmentally friendly solution. So that's about empowering the user to make better decisions. And I think the key takeaway tonight should be that this is day one of a long conversation. This is not going to happen overnight, but it really needs champions within the organisation to sort of really drive home the sort of sustainable nature that transportation needs to have and how that's going to help benefit cities in the long run.
So you did talk about mobility as a service, and if that is successful, how do you see that changing how we get around?
Hopefully, when I see mobility as a service becoming sort of the vision that we have at the moment, it's all about how we get people out of their cars, how we sort of get them sort of thinking in the first instance about public transportation as the key backbone of how it's going to get me there. So it might be that you end up getting a ride-share service to the metro station and then sort of getting the metro into town and then getting a bike. But it's how you sort of get people over that sort of initial reaction that I've now got to book and plan 3 journeys and start getting to think of just 3 legs in a single journey. So it's about sort of empowering people to make better decisions from that perspective.
We talked a little bit about how public transportation is kind of the backbone, the core to mobility as a service, and a lot of what we're moving towards. But as this moves forward, as our transportation systems change, there's a couple different outcomes that can be achieved. Some could be good, some might not be so good.
Yeah.
How do we help guide that? What are the things that we need to be thinking about? What are the things we need to be doing to ensure that we achieve the best possible outcomes?
Good question. So I think the key premise that we have to bear in mind at all times is that the current road infrastructure is saturated, and it's saturated at the wrong times of the day. And you can guarantee that it's not going to get any better soon. So public transportation is the only way that you can get a large volume of people into the central business district of a city. So public transportation will always have that role of moving huge volumes of people. Now, where things might change is how people are going to connect to that network in the first instance. So sometimes we may have to rationalise that, you know what, it's not good to have a large sort of bus operating in this sort of suburban area at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when the actual demand on the network is negligible. So why can't we start thinking about how we look at the demand on that network and how we better right-size the solution for the demand on the network? And in that instance, it might be a small van is necessary to sort of go and pick people up off a bus route. Or it might be that a ride-share service will be the better option. I'm not going to say it's going to be a simple sort of discussion to have and how we bring this all together, but it's about sort of right-sizing the solution to better manage the demand on the network, given that we have a fairly sort of finite capacity.
Cubic works with a number of stakeholders on a daily basis.
Yes.
There are a lot, as we move into mobility as a service, there's a lot of stakeholders that need to be engaged to properly advance that. How do we get those stakeholders to work together? What stakeholders need to be at the table? Give us some thoughts on that.
it's a hard conversation for a lot of cities to have. Traditionally, when you talk about public transportation, it's just the transit agency in the city that is responsible. In some cities, you may have several transit agencies which have sort of competing priorities, but the whole mobility as a service discussion needs to be elevated. So this is no longer just about the transit agencies. This is about the Department for Transport within that city. It's about all of the individual agencies. It's about the road infrastructure management. It's about the sort of the city office as a whole. How you're going to manage the transport infrastructure in a city holistically that's going to deliver better services for everybody in the city. So what we found in some of the cities that we've been working with is holding workshops in the first instance to basically talk through what mobility as a service is, what it means to the city, what it means to the user, and if you do it right, how the user can change their sort of method of moving around the city that can then be influence how you sort of manage the city as a whole. That's been a good first step, basically just to get people talking across the silos that exist within a city and start breaking down some of those barriers. And sometimes it's an awkward conversation, but it's a conversation that needs to happen. And we've seen more and more cities actually embrace the change and realizing that mass can actually deliver big benefits for their city.
Wonderful. I really appreciate that answer. I think a lot of that really rings true in this. Now let's take that into kind of a microcosm. You work with big cities, you work with cities throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's look at that on campus here at UIC. UIC is kind of a small community, about 40,000 people that come and go from campus every year, every day. So if we were to take mobility as a service and apply that on UIC campus, are there any thoughts of how that could be applied, or any pilot projects that you think might be able to be run on campus here, kind of specifically, that could lend to this? And maybe it's even a pilot project that's done here as an example for the rest of the city, or for other cities, or for other universities.
So I think what you have in the UIC campus is actually a real gem. If you can make mobility as a service work for everybody that sort of commutes here and sort of comes here in the morning and stuff, you could expand that into Chicago quite easily. It's not rocket science. And I think one of the easiest things to do to start off with is basically just start looking at people's travel patterns. How do they actually get here in the first instance? I mean, it's great that you have the metro station right on your doorstep. You have several bus networks that go by. I've seen the bike share facilities around here as well. It's fairly easy to sort of walk here as well. So it's a case of start understanding how people are getting here at the moment, and then start looking at what options are available to you after that. So we mentioned about how we can do smart thing with Venture and understanding your travel patterns and when you tap in and tap out. So you could actually start incentivizing people to sort of change their travel patterns, and we can see that from their account history. And simple things can be done to sort of basically nudge people's behaviours. So for example, a set of lectures finish at sort of 4:30 in the afternoon. How can we incentivise people to maybe delay their journey by about an hour and a half or something? Or maybe sort of incentivise them to go and have a coffee, or sort of go and do some studying here first before you start your journey back to sort of where you're living. How do you change people's behaviours? And it doesn't take a lot. In some instances it can be a free ride on the metro. In some instances it could be a cup of coffee. In some instances it's basically just explaining the benefit of moving your journey, what impact that's going to have on everybody's journey on the way home. And I think those sort of little changes can really make a big influence to people's decision patterns on sort of doing things in a more sustainable manner for the bigger picture for the city as a whole. And I'd really like to sort of come back here and sort of help UIC sort of any sort of mass pilots that you want to do. I think there's immense potential here. I think there's a lot we can do.
Wonderful. Well, I'm sure UIC will be looking to talk more about this.
Good.
So, last question. This is a fun one. What's your favorite mode of transportation?
So, because I'm the Global Strategy Director, normally I'm on a plane somewhere. But when I'm not on a plane, it has to be a train. Every day of the week. It's just, I think being in the UK for the majority of my life and then coming over here for 10 years, I found found love of sort of using the train, especially in the UK. We have a great train network there, so it's such a great way to sort of see the countryside, relax, catch up with some work, catch up with some emails. Such a fantastic way of doing it. But that said, I must admit, I love Amtrak over here as well. Any chance I can to get the train, I always do. I was up in Detroit the other week and I got the train across from Detroit over here. Just as good. I can do my work on an Amtrak train like I can on a British train. So yeah, train every day of the week.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again for the wonderful lecture, as well as the presentation here.
No problem at all. Happy to help.
Thank you.
Thank you.